James West. This is Midas Letter Money coming to you live from the Market One Media interview zone at the Canadian Investment Conference in Vancouver, British Columbia. My guest today is Jim Paterson. Jim is the CEO of Kivalliq Energy Corporation, trades on the TSX Venture under the symbol KIV. Jim, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, James.
Jim, why don't you give us an overview of what Kivalliq Energy is up to and what investors have to look forward to in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months?
Sure. Kivalliq went public through a plan of arrangement in 2008, and we've been aggressively exploring our uranium project in Nunavut Territories, Canada. We've raised about $40 million since Fukushima. We've got the support of some great shareholders, very engaged board, great exploration team running the program, and what we've identified there is the highest grade inferred resource on the planet in the uranium space outside of excluding the Athabasca Basin. So about 85% of the world's uranium comes from outside of the Athabasca. There's a lot of mineral deposits around the world that produce uranium, and we have the highest grade undeveloped project.
Okay, so give me an idea of what the grades are, what's the size of the resource at this point?
Right now we have 43 million pounds at about 0.69% average grade.
And
global average is about 0.1.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so does that start at surface? Is it deep?
Yeah, we have a number of different zones. Most of them start at or very near surface. We haven't gone through the academic exercise yet of determining how deep they go. There's commercial depths that you want to drill to, but so far all the drilling has shown that these things start very near surface and extend down to a few hundred meters.
Okay, let's talk for a second about the economics of a deposit that is 0.69%, did you say?
Right, yeah.
0.69% uranium versus the deposits and the companies that own them that have a much higher grade, 13%, 14%, and that tend to get the bulk of the investor attention. How do you reconcile the economics of your project if it goes into production?
Well, exactly the point I was making before, that absolutely the splashy numbers in the Athabasca Basin of Canada are ones that people flock to in terms of Canadian investors, but 85% of the world's uranium comes from outside of the Athabasca and it's significantly lower grade, and some of the biggest mines in the world in terms of producers are much lower grade, in that 0.1 to 0.2 or 0.3%, and some are actually much lower.
So 0.1 to 0.3 is still economic in most of the mines in the world?
In some of the mines in the world. There are very few economic mines, that's the reality. And the great thing about the uranium space for investors is it's been tough enough for the last few years that the crowd's been culled dramatically and only the high quality projects are still standing or being advanced. So it's good for investors because they have more time to review, and it's definitely the projects that are still getting advanced are the high quality ones. Okay. The supply side is very fragile in the uranium business right now based on the pricing of the underlying commodity, and that all sort of started to be in the forefront of the public knowledge after Fukushima, when you had some major events happening in the world that knocked the Japanese reactors offline, and the price of spot of uranium has come off from 70 down to about 28 last week.
Wow.
So it's made it tough, but we've been supported by our shareholders. So we've got really good long-term shareholders that have allowed us to since our maiden resource came out in 2011, we've grown that number by 200%.
Wow.
So it's big growth and a lot more exploration upside to come.
Okay, as an investor, I'd be thinking that the fact that you are in Nunavut would present certain infrastructure challenges?
Well, the very first challenge is that there's no infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
That would be a considerable one if you think about it. But Nunavut itself is very mining friendly, and there are examples recently of mines going into production that are further away from different towns than you'd have in the south of Canada. Agnico Eagle has put the Meadowbank mine in production. It's a gold mine. That's a recent example. They had to build a road to that.
Okay.
Areva, one of the largest players in the nuclear and exploration space, has a project called Kivalliq, one of the largest undeveloped uranium deposit or development projects in the world. It's actually 200 kilometers to the north of us.
Further north?
Further north, yeah.
Wow.
Cameco is active in the same basin. It's called the Thelon Basin. And Nunavut itself, as a territory or a jurisdiction, is very mining friendly, and they have a very clear permitting regime, which is great for investors to know where they stand and what they need to do to advance a project. I think the one number we like to quote is many people around the world will value a uranium company, and they call it per pound in the ground or by pounds in the ground. So if you've got 10 million pounds and your market cap is $10 million, you're getting about $1 a pound in the ground. And a few years ago, or regularly we meet with both Cameco and Areva just to give them an update at PDAC and other mining conferences. We just give them publicly disclosed information. They were really impressed with our discovery costs. So what do we spend all in to acquire a new pound of uranium that we'll put into our inferred resource category? And we're under $1.50 a pound. So that beats anybody in the Athabasca, and we can go head to head with anybody in the world for acquisition costs. It's two reasons, I believe. Of course, we can toot the horn of our team, great exploration team, but also the project is high enough grade, it's near surface, so when you drill and it's a structure that's well behaved and easy to follow, so we can march along these zones or these structures and drill it off and really add pounds quickly to the inferred category. So, yes, we have infrastructure challenges, but as a jurisdiction, it's good. And if the deposit is there and there's the value there, the engineers will find out how to get at the ore.
Sure. Okay, well, I'd like to thank you for joining us today, Jim.
Well, thank you for having me.
My guest today was Jim Paterson. Jim is the CEO of Kivalliq Energy Corporation, which trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol KIV. If you'd like to learn more about Kivalliq Energy, visit their website at kivalliqenergy.com. If you'd like to learn more about companies like Kivalliq Energy, visit MidasLetter.com. I'm James West. This has been another Midas Letter Money coming live to you from the Market One Media interview zone at the Canadian Investment Conference in Vancouver, British Columbia.